So here's the thing with homemade meals. Eating them is great, but all the chopping and measuring and cleanup, not so much. With new one-pan assemble and bake meals from Blue Apron, you get all the flavor of homemade meals with a fraction of the work. Just assemble the pre-chopped ingredients, bake in the oven, and enjoy. Shop Assemble and Bake at BlueApron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit BlueApron.com/terms for more.
Well, at half-time, this is not a joke, I was genuinely thinking, how am I going to tell Tom and Ed that I'm not doing it again next season?
Yes, such a fair weather fan. You should go and join the West Ham fans. It's 95%.
I mean, how bad was that first half though? Seriously, it was, and then how good was that? The thing is, the quality gap. It's like Wayne Rooney's entire career in one game of football. The quality gap between United's best and worst in that game.
Yeah, I actually thought it took 10 minutes for United to really get into that second half. Although Rashford did some good things.
No, I don't mean from half time. I mean from the build up to the first goal.
I know. I mean, it was the first half. I mean, the first half was just absolutely shocking, abysmal.
Yeah,
and I know, we're always like, that was the worst performance since blah 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 blah, right? But that was the worst performance since Moyes was in charge.
I want someone who cares enough to go back through every episode after bad games and clip up the number of times you've said that's the worst performance since 24. It's not even the worst performance at West Ham away since Moyes was in charge.
That was a cry for help from Ollie there. He's just asking to be sacked. It was that's joke. I mean, it was just dreadful though. United, it wasn't just. I mean, United's shape was almost as bad as it was during that West Ham away game with Mourinho in charge. Now, that may have been self-inflicted from the manager. This one was... I just don't know what they'd been working on all week, or at least for the last 3 days, in terms of their shape, because they were all over the place. Defensively, from open play, obviously from set pieces... they couldn't get any rhythm together in attacking. The passing was just abysmal. That's everybody. I mean, obviously, for reasons that I find unfathomable, and maybe you can point me in the right direction, Paul Pogba seemed to be taking the brunt of criticism from fans on social media and from many fans in the few fans that were there from West Ham. But it was just abysmal from everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Pogba didn't play well in the first half, but he definitely didn't play worse than anyone else. Actually made a couple of fairly important defensive contributions at points. But they were just giving the ball away for fun. I mean, the scale of awfulness of United's first half performance, it's kind of hard to overstate, really. I mean, they had a lot of possession in the first half, but what they did with that possession was just... I mean, it was just utterly useless, wasn't it? It was just like they just gave the ball away all the time. I mean... I'm looking at the raw data, and if ever the raw data doesn't tell the story of that game, like they just couldn't string. What I'd like to see is a number of passing chains created in that first half, number of sequences of 4 successful passes in a row. It's got to be 1. It was
303 passes in that first half, 262 completed. So that's 14%.
Which is
more than that, 15%. So, I mean, it's not horrendous, but no pattern to it at all. I I mean, it always broke down, which is of course the point you're making. But the passing was the manifestation of everything that was wrong. Of course, that was where it was most ugly. But the fact that they couldn't even get any sort of individual brilliant moments in that first half, which is the thing that this United team has to fall back on all of the time, because we're still not a team. And we can talk about some of the reasons why that might be the case, is damning enough. And then just defensively, maybe it's the new combination in the middle. I don't know. That was a problem. But when in the defensive third, they seem to be all over the place. I don't know who was supposed to be controlling that back four, but if it's Maguire, he wasn't getting his message across. And then it was all sort of epitomised by the goal from Souček from the corner. No one attacked the ball. Everyone stood still. And then I don't know if there was supposed to be a man at the back post. I guess there wasn't. And whose responsibility is to follow in now? I mean, really, it's Alex Telles. Pogba was also close to it, but I don't think that's his man. I've only seen it 2 or 3 times, so may be incorrect on that one. But just dreadful, the whole lot. No challenge made on Rice, and no one following Souček.
Yeah, so Cavani was... Martial was the furthest forward at the near post. Ball goes over him, so not a lot he can do about that. Cavani just didn't go with Rice at the near post at all, very much like we saw with Rashford against Southampton. Where Rashford at least tried to go with his man and was kind of out-muscled to it. Rice was just given the freedom of the stadium to do what he wanted, and an easy tapping at the back post. And then, seconds later, it could have been 2-0 and maybe a different story, although don't put it out of the realm of possibility that United could have come back from 2-0 down in this, but Haller was through 1-on-1. I mean, West Ham's XG is pretty good, and this isn't on their XG because Haller fell over before he took the shot. So
it's really very funny because poor old Sebastian Haller looks like he's been shot by a sniper. I mean, it's a pea shooter as well, because it takes him a while to feel that the impact's happened.
Tackled by a ghost. The ghost that tackled Zeki Friars tackled him.
Caught somewhere, I guess, but it's not even clear that that's happened. I mean, it looks like he's caught in midair.
Well, it reminded me, there's been a lot of chat about the pitch at the Azteca in '86, and Gary Lineker was saying in his tribute to Maradona that you put your foot down and the turf would just go out from under you. And I always wonder if they've imported a little bit of that turf in tribute to Maradona.
Funny, but it could have been so much worse. I mean, United could have been 2-0 down at that stage, and that's obviously a lot harder to come back from, because it changes the shape and the nature of the game in the second half. And so, United got away with one there. I mean, you mentioned the XG. West Ham's XG is significantly higher than United's in this one, and they did create some good chances.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, almost all in the first half. I think one of their decent chances is in the second half, but almost everything first half. There's the one from Fornals where Henderson made a good save, I think, the kind of near posty one.
That's really near, that's like a couple of minutes in, that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right at the beginning of the game. And then there was the one where Fornals hit the post from the left-hand side of the pitch. So it just, at half-time, just all over the place. And like you said, just no plan, no shape. So I saw the team line up, and there's a lot of talk about 4-3-3. I'm just looking at this going, this isn't going to be a 4-3-3. Pogba's going to be in line with McTominay all the way through this. It's going to be 4-2-3-1. Now, that formation with the arrow pointing down, to use Dutch football terminology, you've got 2 more attacking midfielders and 1 player sweeping. The problem is you can't just play McTominay as a 1 in that he just doesn't have the skill set. So the time that United did play that system was those games under Van Gaal, and it was Carrick that was in that spot, and he could do it because he's so good on the ball, essentially, that and then his positional reading of the game and all that stuff was very high level. But you can't do that with McTominay, so you do need to play a 4-2-3-1. Now, I think it's an interesting choice to play Van der Beek as the 10 and Pogba as the, I was going to say 8, but really it's 6 in that.
It's double pivot.
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument that you just swap those around and you're going to get better out of both players because, Van der Beek is. I mean, he had a bad game, actually. He had a bad half of football. I was surprised he came off, but turned out that was a very good decision to leave Pogba on the pitch, being given what he did in the second half. But yeah, I think it just clearly did not work in any way. And Bruno gets a lot of stick in a lot of different quarters, and he can be unbelievably frustrating. He was against PSG, and he was in the first half of whoever it was that we played before that, Southampton. But he really clearly does do a lot of organisational work on the pitch, and they missed that voice a lot, I thought.
Yeah. Sure. It's the thing that Wayne Rooney was talking about in the official pod a few weeks back, where he's saying in his time, the shift of all those leaders out of the squad, and that's Giggs, Ferdinand, Gary Neville, range of leaders, Keane sometime before that, to something else was really detrimental.
Yeah.
And very rarely in the intervening years have we got multiple leaders in this team. And we talked about it on last week's pod, didn't we? Or midweek pod. And it's very clear that Bruno can have such an influence just by stepping on the pitch. Because it's not like he was in central midfield suddenly dictating the terms of the game. That's not what he does as a player. He makes things happen in a kind of unbelievable way, really. I mean, there's so few players in the modern game that you kind of point to as having that kind of influence when they're on the ball in the final third. Yeah, in terms of he's the wrist spinner in T20. It can be a bad pass and he's still going to create a chance. So, non-cricket fans. He's throwing googlies all over the place and some of them coming off. And it really matters. And then he's got, he's Ian Morgan as well. I'm really stretching the analogy here.
But it did, there's a huge galvanizing effect. And after that first half, which was, it was a disaster of individual performance. But when every single player we know, even if you're one of these people that somehow think Paul Pogba is bad, in which case, whatever. Everyone loves Donny van der Beek, right? I love him, so I'm not saying you shouldn't love him, but everyone loves Donny van der Beek. He gave the ball away every time he had it in that first half. Like, every United player looked bad in that first half, and they are not all bad. I mean, there was Martial stung the West Ham keeper's hands, didn't he? The one bit of kind of insightful interplay fed Tellez knocked it back to him, and he had the shot from the edge of the area, which stung the fingers of the West Ham keeper by the top corner. But generally speaking, we just created like next to nothing of any meaningful value, and it was an immensely frustrating first half. And you're watching this going, this team under this manager, they're not going anywhere, But this team under this manager, and this keeps happening. I mean, United's record since the January transfer window, I saw a league table before this game, was something like 3 points off Liverpool at the top of the fictional league table that doesn't exist since then.
Now top of that fictional league table. Yeah.
Right, there you go. I mean, God, where are we in the actual league table right now?
Fourth.
Right,
amazingly,
yeah. So it's baffling. It's continually baffling. I mean, I said on Twitter, I simply do not understand this Manchester United side, and I don't. I mean, we can talk about this game and like different things that happen in this game that I kind of feel like I've got some sort of handle on, but fundamentally where United are at, no, absolutely no idea, because it's a disastrous first half, and then things start to happen in the second.
Yeah, they do. I mean, let's talk about some of the things that happened then. So I'm trying to remember who scored the first goal. Would you like to remind the listeners exactly what you were saying off air about Paul Pogba's first goal?
I'm not going to say what I said off air specifically, because there was a reason that was off air and not on air. But what I am going to say is I celebrated this goal with a certain anger in my heart, redemption feeling. I mean, listen, Paul Pogba has been bad. I'm not denying that he's had a very bad start to the season, but the extent to which it's not that people write him off, it's that they enjoy writing him off. That's the thing that gets under my skin. United fans, I mean, I'm not talking about Graham Souness. I'm talking about people that, this is their player on their team, but they're not rooting for him. Even at the peak of our agenda against Wayne Rooney, which lasted for 5 solid years on this show, I do not believe for 1 second that either of us was ever rooting against him for a second.
No, not for a moment. Not for a moment. And I say that hand on heart. I always wanted him to be brilliant. I couldn't understand why he wasn't. Well, I knew why he wasn't. And it was frustrating that United couldn't move on. But, with Pogba, I understand why people might be frustrated with him and they want more out of him.
Sure.
And maybe they'll go as far as feel like they want more out of him because of the money, right? Or, whatever that means, right? Because it doesn't mean anything, because the alternative, it goes in Malcolm's pocket. Not literally Malcolm's pocket, but, I use that as an analogy for the whole clan. And what it actually feels like is there's something about Paul Pogba's partly persona or media personality or the way he's covered, and I suspect it's a lot of that, that makes people so angry about him that they want everything to conform to the narratives they've already created in their head about him. And this is why during that half, when he's really done nothing worse or better than that first half, that is, than anyone else on the pitch, he's the man who, on my Twitter timeline, is getting 98% of the abuse. And it's really abusive. It's really abusive. And it doesn't make any sense to me why he's the man that's so picked out. No, you guys can go and work that out for yourself. I've given a few things there, maybe some other stuff that's more insidious than that, whatever.
And this is not, and I just want to make this absolutely clear. This is not this is the 3rd goal he scored in 49 games for club and country. He's been in a really bad trot for over a year, and he was excellent, I thought, during Project Restart. Almost all the good stuff that happened was about Pogba and Fernandes combining well together rather than, Fernandes doing it all on his own. But yeah, he's been in a bad trot. There are genuinely good reasons for a lot of that, Anyway, I never mind all that. I celebrated slightly with a slight, just ever so slightly vindictively, but mostly just absolutely delighted because he's the only player we've got that can do that. Well, Bruno could probably do versions of that because he loves a goal from distance, doesn't he? But an absolutely belting strike. Now, David Moyes
beautiful touch strike as well. I mean, Moyes is fuming. And by the way, just before you come on to Moyes, I think I can summarise your feelings about this, which you don't want to share on there. Fine, fine. As Roy Keane did with Mick McCarthy in 2002. Shove that up your bollocks.
Just like to say, I did not say that off air. Just so people think I'm
saying summarising.
Yeah, paraphrasing, definitely. But yeah, definitely somewhere in that realm. It's a phenomenal goal. David Moyes absolutely fuming. Henderson clears it down the line. Very definitely, no doubt whatsoever, 100% in all the way. Listen, I've seen this several times from behind the line, and there's some serious physics at play if that doesn't go out, because Dean Henderson hits the ball at a very 45 degrees to the right of him, and it curls back in, lands right in front of Fernandes. But never mind that. I mean, Moyes is clapping at the pressure that's put on Henderson because he's like, oh, great, Henderson's kicked this out. And then the play continues, and Moyes is looking around, just waving his arms as the ball comes to Fernandes, who then hits it inside to Pogba, who does his magic. And
clearly we need goal line technology on the touchlines.
Yes.
Because I'm sure there's going to be some controversy on the back pages. But funnily enough, I'm just a little aside here, right? ESPN do a whole calculator of who's benefited and not from VAR in the Premier League. United's net beneficiary from VAR is one goal in the Premier League this season. And I think it wasn't much more than that. I think it was like 2 last season. And it's not the narrative that's explained in coverage of the game, not to go all sort of paranoid about things. But I'm sure in covering this particular game, there's going to be an awful lot of discussion about that ball, whether it went out of play or not.
Yeah, and who cares?
Who cares? Exactly. And it's David Moyes, so you can stick that up, yeah. Moyesy.
And West Ham, who I didn't hear this, but I saw wide-scale reports, like I've not seen any replays of it or anything at this point, but I've seen wide-scale reports that they booed during the taking a knee, as well Millwall fans had done earlier in the day. I mean, not in any way surprising that it's those particular clubs. I mean, that's just not in any way surprising.
I mean, look, I mentioned it earlier. I just cannot understand West. I just cannot understand them. Right, 95% of the noise that comes out of West Ham fans' mouths is boo or some variant of that. Right, maybe it's 70% booing and 20% jeering, and 4% of the time they're blowing bubbles. And maybe if that doesn't add up to 100, which I think it doesn't. Maybe there's a little bit of supporting their team in there as well.
So then comes the goal goes in, the kickoff's restarted, and then United basically just keep the ball and are knocking it about really, like, completely effectively. I think Rashford made a huge difference coming on the left. Martial he did come off. He'd come off by that point through injury. So Cavani comes off at half-time with Van der Beek. He brings on Rashford and Fernandes, and then he loses Martial to injury, which was, worrying at that point. I think that was still at nil.
Just before the goal, yeah.
And so he goes to, 2 up front. But really, Mason's still playing off the right played off the left quite a lot. Yeah. And Mata comes on and he's playing ostensibly off the right, but we know that doesn't mean he's actually playing off the right. Anyway, they knock the ball about brilliantly. And then Bruno goes in and tackles their keeper, puts a load of pressure on. That's how you pressurise a keeper, David Moyes. United get a throw in. It's a really nice play from Bruno to get the ball to Telles. Telles puts in a nice ball for Mason Greenwood. What Mason Greenwood does is absolutely elite number 9 play. Like, he's obviously not that all the time, but he's that much, much, much more of the time than he should be for his age.
Oh, I mean, that goal is just... Every single part of what Mason does after the ball reaches him is world class. I mean, it's an absolutely stunning control and turn and finish. And he's hit it so cleanly the keeper can't get anywhere near it. And it's a yard away from him. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I have to say, just after half-time, Rashford had quite a few good runs down the left, including one monumental one, didn't he? And it actually looked like Hugh was livelier there instead of putting Mason out there, which happened for the last half hour of this game. And I guess Ollie's got his reasons for doing that, but it felt like Mason being the point man and Rashford coming off the left would have been a better balance. Rashford had a good impact, very good impact after he came on, but Mason's finishing is just absolutely stunning. It's the one area of Marcus's game that probably falls down more than the rest of it, doesn't it? Is the finishing. I mean, one against the post. Was there another one?
Yeah, he scored.
Feels like there was another one. I can't remember.
Yeah, he scored the other one and he scored.
But I meant another one where we didn't score.
All right.
So it's obviously not. I mean, he can finish absolutely brilliantly, but half of them are really difficult ones. Mason will finish anything. Yeah. And this is not a criticism of Marcus at all. There's stuff he does that obviously Mason can't do, including carrying the ball sort of 50 or 60 yards down the left as he did at one stage.
Yeah, so let's talk about the chance he missed just because the pass from Fernandes. I mean, this is what you were talking about with the level of exceptionalness of Bruno Fernandes. That control and pass, not just the pass, but the killing the ball absolutely dead and immediately hitting an inch perfect slide through pass. I mean, that is the Bruno Fernandes dream, right? That is the pass. Every single pass he plays is that in his own head. Like I just kill the ball dead and put in a perfect through ball every time I've got the ball.
It's a special combination. I don't know what it is in FIFA these days. I haven't played it for a while, but is it YR1 or something like that? Perfect through ball.
Right. Yeah. But to do it on the turn after controlling that ball, and it was a real shame that Rashford just slightly got his shot wrong, and I don't think any of us were particularly surprised by that because that isn't necessarily his best situation, but then brilliantly he got a chance at redemption almost immediately. This is nice interplay. Pogba finds Bruno finds Mata with, oh my God, I mean, the pass of the day, maybe. It's partly, I guess the Bruno one is the better pass, just sort of technically or whatever. But timing-wise, if you look where Rashford is at the point of beating the man in the offside trap, I mean, Mata really had to release that ball at that exact split second that he did. And it was one of those where, as he's going through, I'm almost like only half celebrating the goal, really, because just waiting for the inevitable, actually his nose is offside.
Yeah. Oh, no, beautiful pass from Mata. He's still got it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not an athlete. Never really was, but he's even less than that now. But range of passing could be absolutely spectacular, and that was the one he hit first time, right?
Yeah.
Or was that?
Yeah.
Lovely. Then a few bad things to talk about in this game.
Just before that, having had a question about Rashford's finishing, the unbelievable quality of Marcus Rashford's finish one-on-one, the little dink there. I mean, it was just a beautiful goal. Pogba, Fernandes, Mata, Rashford, every touch on the ball, exactly what it needed to be. And now suddenly, from a game where we played as badly as we've ever played, we are battering them. And this is the thing that Ole has over all the people that have come before him. I mean, he is not, in my opinion, we are never getting to the top under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's too limited. I mean, I've never said anything I would like to be wrong more than that, but, that's my current opinion. But it is so much more fun, and there is so much more good than there's been in the post-Ferguson era. It's just, there's an awful lot of absolutely terrible as well.
Yeah, look, I don't know what Ollie's ceiling is, and I don't know what his limitations are exactly, except that a lot of things kind of manifest themselves on the pitch, which are pretty disturbing, right? And beyond all of that is the fact that 2 years in the job, he cannot get any consistency out of these players at all. And I guess you can point the finger at the players and say, not good enough. Of course you can, but in the end, it's Ollie as the manager where the buck stops. I mean, he's the man who's got to fashion all those raw ingredients into something that really works as a team. And 2 years in, there are signs, but there have been signs from the first 14 games. There's been signs, and they never really form into something particularly concrete. So, I know in social media we want to be extremely reductive about arguments, and it has to be sort of this binary Ollie in or Ollie out. But I think 2 years in, we have a fairly good sense of sort of what he wants, right? But I wonder whether he really has a very clear vision about how this team should play, because they play a different system and a different style of play almost every week at this point. And what he wants it to look like in the end. And with so many managers, you definitely would have had that by now, even if there were inconsistencies. So Klopp, lots of inconsistencies in the first couple of years of his reign at Liverpool. Lots. Definitely had the sense of what they were as a team, where they were going. Same with Pep, really. I mean, of course, it's unfair comparison because he gets so much money and has the right kind of structure behind him at City to buy the right players. But, pretty average first season in charge at Manchester City. But very clear how they're going to play. just not enacting it. And that's the thing that I just don't quite get with Ollie yet. I don't know what this looks like in the end. This is not a high-pressing team. Is it a passing team? Well, sometimes it's a passing team, unless they don't want to pass the ball, and then it's a 30% defend and on the break team. And that's really the only time you can kind of see a functional team come out, consistently, functionally, is when they play like that. But I don't think that. I think there was a time when that was true, but I don't even think we're consistent at that anymore. Right. So, you're not going to win the league playing like that. No. I mean, you might get in the top 4 playing like that. Maybe that's our goal these days, and you overcome your limitations. So I don't know where we go from here. Of course, every victory seems inevitably to be followed by something disappointing, either a disappointing performance in a win again or a loss. That record that we spoke about, the number of points since Bruno joined. I mean, it's a great number of points. How many really superb performances in there? It's a lot less than the number of victories.
Yeah, but then, and that is a big factor. But then over a substantial, a bit like Nani, like somebody said today to me, this is a team of 11 nannies, and we would say all the time, like, Nani's incredibly inconsistent, and then you'd look at his numbers over the course of a season, and he looks like he's incredibly consistent. There's 3 seasons in a row, whatever, where he puts up double figures of assists for 3 seasons in a row, and I think 2 of them double figures for goals as well.
Yeah, one he's got like 15 and 17, which you'd say he's absolutely elite.
Yeah. But all the way through that season, he was wildly inconsistent because in the course of a game, and like Fernandes is a great example of this. I mean, Fernandes is a wildly inconsistent player, but consistently puts up big numbers. So you could say, like, even though the performances have been inconsistent, the numbers of games that we have won, the kind of volume at which we win games from coming from behind or scrape a win or whatever, that there's a consistency inbuilt in that. There's a level of achievement inbuilt in that. Now, I mean, do we argue it's not sustainable? It's a too small a sample size. It's starting to be a year's worth of sample size. It's pretty substantial, and that that's something. Now, what it is, I don't know, and where we go, I don't know. But the kind of original point I was making, I actually came to praise Ole, not to bury him. Like, I know I started by saying this is the essence of, like, don't take this seriously. This is just an opinion. I don't stand behind this opinion with my life. Like, who knows whether this is right or wrong. I kind of feel like we're probably not going to get to the top under Ole. That's about where I come down on the balance of things, but I definitely don't claim to be an expert. But what I was trying to say is, in spite of that, and in spite of how bad we look sometimes, there's a hope and a belief in this team that just wasn't there before. In terms of, I'm not talking about whether we win stuff or not. I'm talking about whether we win a game that we're 1-0 down in. Like, the fact that we won this game 3-1 is absolutely mad, considering the sheer level of awfulness of the first half performance.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But the former point is also true, right? So we believe there's the potential for something happening with this team because there are performances like this or better ones, and that's also the frustration, because of course a team's progression to being great is not necessarily completely linear. You just don't go in a straight line from awful to great.
No team ever has.
Right, and key purchases can actually make that sort of leap, as we've seen with Bruno Fernandes, and maybe in the future United will make the right kind of acquisitions, or players will come through from the youth team, or something will happen to push this team forward even more. Right from here, I think it's still going to be a stretch for United getting in the top 4. I mean, we're 4th now after an inconsistent start, but it will be a it will be United will have to find some level of consistency to finish in that top four, I guess.
Well, they'll have to. They'll
it's
have to find
not
a
guaranteed. Let's put it
Yeah,
like that.
they'll have to maintain a consistency of results. That's because we're actually starting to see that. Because really, in the end, like last season, Chelsea and United got into the top four in part because it was actually quite an easy job to get into the top four based on what the other potential challengers for that did. This season, I mean, Spurs have obviously locked it up. So Spurs are the one team that you'd say have substantially improved on last season, and that now means it's likely to be between Chelsea, us, Leicester. Leicester are.
I don't think Spurs have locked it up. Looking at the points totals.
Maybe not locked it up. Sorry, that's a stupid thing to say. So I guess it's between Spurs, Chelsea, Leicester. But you'd think it seems like Spurs are functional enough. I mean, but we'll see. There's plenty of implosion ahead, as I said last week on the bonus content. Patrick Bamford scored as well just now against Chelsea. Talking of bonus content, fans of the bonus content will know how the two of us feel about him. Actually, I don't know why I'm claiming that I'm a Patrick Stanford.
You are now. I mean, I've already ordered you the shirt.
So if that's a Leeds shirt, I'm very upset that you've done such a thing. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna have to keep getting these results, but. Again, we talked about consistency and inconsistency. We are on the longest run of away wins in the club's entire history, Newton Heath included. Like, this is not since the Premier League was born, right? This is of all time.
5 in a row in the Premier League away from home, coming from behind to win, which is bonkers. Really.
I'm sure no team has ever done that before in the history of association football, right? That's ours.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's true or not, but we'll run with it.
I'm claiming it.
Anyway, just a few notes about some other players before we move on. Dean Henderson, very neat and tidy, everything he did, no mistakes.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah, looked. He's obviously very competent. I mean, high XG for West Ham, but not loads of saves he had to make, but one very good one to his left, and everything else perfectly well done. Thought Wan-Bissaka was pretty good. He's had some ropey games this season, but I thought he did well. One big mistake that the Spider recovered from with one of those long raking tackles, which was good to see. Fans love that kind of thing, of course, because make a mistake and do everything for the shirt, passion, and then execute the tackle. But I thought he did well there, and a good game from Alex Telles. Got the. Good enough. And don't make faces.
Good attacking contributions.
Yeah, exactly. Putting a good ball and pretty neat in possession. Defensively, we'll see.
Ball watchy.
Yeah, maybe.
Friend of the show, Cal Gildart, suggesting that Alex Telles might be a ball watcher, and I think that's one to keep an eye on. He definitely looked a bit ball watchy at the corner that led to the goal.
True. Yes. And any other notes before we move on?
No, not really. I think more or less said anything. Absolutely amazing from Mason. That all three goals, absolutely top draw, brilliant goals. Like that makes for a fun afternoon, doesn't it? And Ollie's absolutely baffling Reds march on somehow. Should we take a break and then talk about where they're marching on to next?
We shall. Let's do it.
Okay, so RB Leipzig in a must-draw game. Any result, unless Istanbul beat Paris, we have to draw this game. I'm at a loss. I'm absolutely at a loss about how you kind of like pass all the information we have about this United side and Ole and our strengths and weaknesses and Leipzig's performances. They drew 3-3 today, you were saying, with Bayern Munich. They've been both excellent and dreadful in the Champions League at different points. So yes, I have absolutely nothing useful to say about this game. So it's on you, Ed. It's all on you.
So, I mean, just looking at their formation, played 4-3-3 today against Bayern. And, I mean, with Forsberg up front, it'd be interesting. Will he start? He probably will start against United. He hasn't always this season, but I imagine he probably will. Justin Kluivert definitely isn't always in the team. Was in today and scored. We'll see whether that makes a difference to what they're going to play. But the thing with Leipzig is just constant pressure. And this is where they really excel, and United don't excel. And the surprising thing about the game at Old Trafford was not the first half, because we know they can move the ball really well, and we know that they can cause a lot of teams trouble, was the second half when they completely collapsed. That said, they conceded 4 in their last game and 3 in this one, so maybe the defences aren't so good at the moment. I mean, They've got 2 excellent central defenders, and you wouldn't really expect them to be such a mess because Konate and Upamecano are both really, really good. They'll be going on to bigger things, I imagine, in the future. And you know, I'm waffling because I don't know the answer either to exactly how this will play out or what United team we will see. I hope it's the one that is able to put pressure on the opposition. I mean, if it's a case of we'll soak up the pressure and break, it could work for United, but this is a team, RB, who can definitely score in those situations. Definitely.
Yeah, so what on earth is Solskjaer going to do? One thing we know, of course, is that Fred won't play. I mean, it was quite interesting that he was in receipt of some punishment beatings today vis-a-vis his team selection, because even though he was suspended for the game coming up against Leipzig, he was nowhere near the team. I suppose we will see Pogba and Fernandes play. I mean, the Rashford injury.
We might see Rashford and McTominay. Might do.
What was that? Sorry, Rashford.
We might see. Not Rashford. McTominay and Matic.
Right.
In central midfield, we might.
And then so one of Pogba then would miss out because Fernandes isn't not going to play, is he?
Yeah, Fernandes will play at 10, that's for sure. And then who's in the double pivot is another question. I don't think we'll shift to another. I mean, we could go to 3 at the back, but it'd be 1v1. And that seems risky with whatever combination you play. Tuanzebe is available, but I'd still be really surprised. I think it'll be a flat back 4-2-3-1, and then who's in the double pivot will be the question.
Well, I think it's who's in the double pivot alongside Pogba that's the question, because I think Ole isn't going to drop Pogba after that goal because it's not how he works. So I wonder whether we'll see a Pogba and Matic double pivot because of the quality on the ball.
But that is a combination that has never worked. I mean, it's the softest of softest underbellies.
Well, it works really well when we're going to have 90% of the ball or 70% of the ball in a game. Then it's a great double pivot to have. But yeah, so let's assume it's not that. I guess we'll see McTominay play again, although he's had 2 very average games in a row, like very average games in a row. So, you know, I won't be excited about that, but I guess it's going to be the same back 4 that played today, and then the front 3. I mean, we are now also, by the way, like Bruno and Rashford having to come on in the second half of this game, big issue, both with knocks. I mean, Rashford has had perpetual injuries and just not been able to be fully fit. Ollie said he was hoping he didn't have to bring Rashford and Fernandes on in this game, but he did have to bring them on in this game. They played 45 minutes, and
it's a shoulder injury, so at least it's not a lower half muscle injury or something like that. Shoulder injury, maybe you can manage that, although he did go down heavily at one stage.
He did, with a knock to the head, and Fernandes took a right whack as well, and he's got back problems. And Martial went off injured, so you know might be struggling around a bit. I guess we might see a front 3 of Cavani, Rashford, and Greenwood, maybe if Martial is injured.
Yeah, maybe depending on the style. So if he's going to play on the break, and try and soak up pressure and go for pace up front, it may well be Rashford, Cavani, Greenwood, I guess. If he wants to try and get a bit more control, maybe it's Mata in there.
Where? On the right?
On the right.
Right. And the other thing is he might play a diamond and 2 forwards instead of 3 forwards. So he might play Matic, Pogba, McTominay, Fernandes, or Pogba, Van der Beek, McTominay, Fernandes, and then Rashford and Greenwood, or Cavani and Rashford, or, you know, some combination of those two as well. That's another possibility.
Yeah. And doesn't this just hark back to the conversation we were previously having?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just the combination of players in there that's uncertain, but the formation. Now, could you honestly say you'd be absolutely shocked if you played a 3 at the back, a 4 at the back, a flat back 5, 4-3-3? That'd be a surprise. 4-2-3-1,
or 4-2-4 diamond,
or a diamond, sort of 4-1-2-1.
Yeah,
with a diamond.
Yeah.
You know, so there's at least 4 viable formations. Now, you know, you can give him the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, hasn't he built a flexible squad that can be horses for courses?
Mm-hmm.
But is it the price of having no clear set style at all?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's... This podcast is a weird one because on the one hand it's very celebratory, like we've just seen them play an amazing half an hour of football with some absolutely electric
goals. Yeah, we just watched the last half of that game,
yeah,
not the first 60 minutes. It'd be great, you know.
Yeah,
up your bollocks, David Moyes, and we've replaced you in the top 5.
United.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
But this is, you know, I guess I wonder whether the fact that we'll need a draw and we need to draw and not win is going to play into his head, and he'll go with the more conservative possible options of the various options. But at this point, I'm also not even sure what that is, because I don't think playing a back 3 is necessarily particularly conservative, because actually that means you can use the defenders to bring the ball out, and, you know, having more defenders isn't playing more defensively necessarily.
Yeah, sure. Timothy Fosu-Mensah as left wing back, Luke Shaw into a back 3, and Matic and McTominay in front of them. Something like that.
I don't think that's going to happen now, is it, Ed?
With Daniel James up front on his own.
I genuinely forgot he existed until just now. He's in the Lingard zone of forgetting they exist.
God,
anyway,
yeah, I keep forgetting. I do a very mini sort of preview on Instagram each week, and I keep forgetting Lingard he's injured. I'm assuming he's injured. No, he's just been frozen out.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
Well,
Phil Jones sleeps with the fishes, and yeah, that's that one we understand. I mean, has anyone seen Phil Jones alive in months?
Your mini previews on Instagram are really good, by the way. I feel like saying it's important to say I have nothing to do with those. Ed writes them.
It's 3 paragraphs. It's not hard. Yeah.
No, but they're punchy and good. But if you get a reply in the message in the DMs on Instagram, that's probably me. To be fair, that's about the balance of labour, isn't it? All right. And talking of which, we've had a number of really nice messages this week, and it is just, I mean, really, really nice messages. So, like, a massive, massive thank you to the people that have taken the time to send a note of appreciation, and it makes all the difference, because especially at the end of that first half when you're thinking, what is the point of getting on a Google Hangouts and talking about that for an hour, it really makes it worthwhile. So huge thanks to everyone for that.
Yeah, many people having this podcast at the top of their Spotify playlist all year, or Spotify Wrapped. It was top of my Spotify Wrapped too. It was literally the only podcast I'd listened to on Spotify.
And it was to make sure it was actually there.
Just to make sure it's actually working. Yeah.
All right. So, Patreon backers, we would normally throw to bonus content. We're going to do that midweek because we're having to record on Saturday for some logistics. So not enough football's gone down for us to talk about it. The Leeds are still beating Chelsea, which is amusing. And somehow Everton didn't beat Burnley, but we'll talk about that later. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.
And we'll see you midweek.
Bye now.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.